the intention was a search. So we start out by obviously putting out breakdowns to agents describing what we're looking for, but we also do our own outreach to colleges because of the age of these characters. We reach out to the drama programs to see if there's a recent graduate or someone currently in their program that might be appropriate for it.
For anybody who was either alive at the time or the younger generation found this case on TikTok apparently during the pandemic. So everybody knows what they look like. And because there's so much footage out there, there's a lot of sense of their energy as well. So you're really looking to hit a very narrow target.
We would get the self-tapes and we would go through them, and anyone that we thought had a glimmer, we would send to Ryan and Ian. So I think that once we got a little bit of feedback from Ryan and Ian on what they were responding to, it made it easier for us to get even more targeted. It became more and more clear to us what was right for this. Vulnerability was really key. You know, if you watch Court TV, he's very vulnerable.
We were also aware that episode 5 was going to be done in one shot. So we were looking for somebody who had, you know, preferably a great theater background and knew how to carry something without an edit, without a break. So we really needed somebody who, in addition to the look and the energy, had the skill set to handle a highly emotional episode where the camera never left their face.
I grew up doing theater. I started doing musicals and plays when I was 5 years old in my community theater. I did theater in high school, and then I studied acting at Pace University in New York City for 4 years. And I think it was in my junior year, the beginning of my junior year, I got an agent and I started auditioning professionally. My familiarity with the case was pretty in-depth because my very second audition ever was for the Law and Order series that they did in 2017. That's when I found out about the case. And so I immediately just, I watched all of what I could find. I also tested and was up for the role in the Lifetime movie as well. So I had all of this work that I had already done. So I was really prepared. And then I just kind of had to step back in. And at that time also, they had put all of the the trial footage on YouTube. I think that happened over the pandemic. And so I just started watching and just sort of dipped back into this world that I had already sort of known so much about and felt so deeply about.
Cooper is a great example of persistence. He had been up for Erik in another version of the show before and didn't get it, and didn't let that discourage him from wanting to tackle it again. Like, rather than having him say, oh, I didn't get it before, it's never gonna happen for me, he absolutely dove right in. The amount of preparation he did and the excitement that he brought to it when he saw a door opening and walked through it.
The biggest thing is preparation. I think a lot of actors feel like, I don't want to risk wanting this too badly, so I'm not going to do that kind of work until I get my foot in the door, like I know they like me. And I think that can be a mistake. You really want to start your preparation with research done when it's based on real people.
He was a great man. And a lot of people didn't know that.
I remember in my callback with Tiffany, I always have been coming from a place of empathy and understanding and believing their story that they share on the stand and that they've stuck to for all of these years. I always kind of was embodying Erik in a sort of a form of weakness or a shell, or someone who's like really, really traumatized and struggling, and which is obviously true, but she offered me to try a color on of, what if in this moment this person is really embodied and powerful and they're sort of making a decision, and you almost see the monster that's inside of them, which I think offered me, a different way of playing.
But I thought it was really important that we play the scene from those different perspectives so the creative team could see that in whatever direction the writing went in the show, Cooper was capable of playing it, a little bit more menacing, more vulnerable, more entitled, more 80s, right? So we had a lot of fun stuff to play around with in the work session.
In my first tape, I had a rough go. It was difficult. I worked with a coach, and we spent about 2.5 hours working on those scenes. And I think my biggest fear going into the audition, or even just to filming it, was sort of like, on the day and when it's called for it, will I be able to conjure up those raw, vulnerable emotions? I mean, quote unquote, just like being able to have those breakdowns emotionally and have them be truthful and authentic. I think that was really terrifying. And the pressure of that, just from wanting to do a good job, but also from wanting to tell the story truthfully and be able to become him, was really hard. And those first couple of takes and the first scene that I chose to do for the tape, it wasn't coming out. I wasn't sort of having that breakdown, and it took some time to really like rewire my brain. And with the help of the coach that I was working with, eventually it did sort of pour out of me. And I think it took some time to sort of let go of what I wanted it to be and let go of what the expectation of the result was supposed to be in my mind, and just live truthfully in the moment. And luckily, I think I was able to do that.
But he thought that me and Lyle could be president someday. That's why he was so hard on us. All the time it was just so... It's just... really...
What's going on, Erik?
So... we did it. My brother and I.
You shot them?
Yeah.
Okay, Erik, do you maybe want to go talk about it upstairs?
Okay.
One of our scenes in the screen test, the chemistry read with Nicholas, was the first scene of the show in the car when they're driving to the memorial service. And I remember, I think a similar thing was happening where, I'm supposed to break down in that scene and get very emotional and be sort of triggered by seeing Lyle wearing Dad's shoes. And I think I was so nervous and so sort of like, God, I really want to get this part, obviously, that I was, again, trying to conjure up those feelings and force them out. And it maybe wasn't working. It wasn't working. And I think Ryan just told me, you don't have to cry. You don't have to break down. You don't have to get emotional. Like, just be in the moment, which was sort of the same thing that I experienced with my coach too. And it was a process of really learning how to let go.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those times where like as casting directors, you work on projects where it'll probably be successful, and this will probably be the kind of role that'll help change somebody's lives or put them on the map. But knowing full well what this show was going to do and what episode 5 and that oneer was going to do for whoever got the part was exciting. Like, it was just, it was knowing that person was going to walk into something really, really exciting. And Cooper was a delight and worked so hard during the process to earn the role that, we were both ecstatic.
The moment that I found out I got the part, it was after our screen test. Our chemistry read was on a Saturday. And that day I had been in Groundlings that morning, and I was doing some like rocker crazy character, like screamo kind of crazy guy, and I was screaming like all morning. And then I went to the chemistry read where there was more talking and yelling and crying and emotions. And then after the screen test, I had to run to my other acting class where I was working on All My Sons, which is more screaming and emotions and intensity. And so then the next day, I completely lost my voice. I was like, I sounded like this. I was on the phone with my brother, and then I get like a random 310 number calling me, and I was like, this like could be the call. And then I answered it, and it was Ryan, and he told me I got the part, and that he said something very sweet. And he said this to Nicholas too. He said, it's still going up the ranks at Netflix and they have to approve, but I'm not doing the show if it's not with you and Nicholas. And that was just so, I don't have words to describe what it felt like to hear that. And yeah, and I was like talking to him like this. I was like, oh my gosh, Ryan, thank you so much. Yes, June 12th, 2023. I have it in my calendar. Dreams came true.